Making content shouldn't be stressful for you. You've probably spent hundreds of hours planning, scripting, filming, editing, and posting content, all for it to fall flat on its face and get 200 views, and worse than that, 0 clients and 0 leads through the door. In this video, I'm going to go through not only the biggest mistakes that you're making when creating content, but how to actually turn those views into clients in your business. The number one thing that you need to understand when you start creating content is who is your target client? Who are you speaking to? And why should they even listen to you? By identifying who you want to target and bring into your business as clients, it's going to allow you to effectively create content and save you tons of time, energy, and effort on planning content. If you don't know who your target audience is, the number one thing I would recommend is looking at the top 20% of your clients that get 80% of the best results and that you enjoy working with the most. Identify who that is, what their life looks like, what they're interested in, what drew them to you in the first place. And if you don't know, simply ask them these questions. Once you know who you're targeting, you need a framework of how you're going to be creating content so that you can do it not just once, but repeatedly week after week. One of the things we teach our clients here at Lightning Media is the Converts framework. Is a process that takes someone from seeing you and your content for the first time and turns them into a client. It's an anagram that stands for connect with a symptom, overcome objections, villains and differentiation, elevating your authority, results, targeting the 4 different buyer types, and speaking to knowledge gaps and differentiation in your offer. What the Converts framework allows you to do is that if you're hitting on those different aspects of it, such as connecting with a symptom or narrating a desired outcome, even if your video only gets 200 views, as long as it's with your target audience, it will lead to conversion and sales in your business. Now, when you're content planning, I like to take the Converts framework and apply it to what is currently working on the platforms. So, for example, there has been a trend that's been going on for several months. It is the POV style video on Instagram, where you have B-roll, just footage of you doing something ideally related to what you're helping your customers with or an aspect of your personal brand, text on screen, and a trending sound. Now, if you were to implement that yourself, I would find a video that has performed very well in the past, ideally over 1 million, minimum 100,000 views, but again, ideally over 1 million views. And you wanna look at what copy did that well. You wanna look for what the nouns and adjectives are in that copy and switch them out to match your business. Again, we don't want to steal the exact idea, but we want to take that idea and improve upon it and cater it to our own business. An example of that, if I was making a short form video to promote this YouTube video, I would say something along the lines of the following. POV, you figured out how to plan content effectively in your business, and instead of it taking the majority of your time throughout the week, it only takes you a couple of hours to bring in new leads every single day. And I'd have that copy on screen with me working at my desk, or because part of my personal brand is trail running, climbing mountains, doing hard things, I'd have video of me trail running in the background, paired with a sound that matches the tone and vibe of the video. If you want bonus points to bring leads in off of that video, I would include a CTA in the description after you provide additional value. So on this video, I would talk about in the caption or description, whatever you call it, I would talk about the Converts framework. And at the end of it, I would say comment Converts or comment content if you want help implementing this in your business. That's a little bit on the long side, but I would look at editing that down ideally into a one-liner. What that would look like is comment Converts for help implementing this. Super easy, super simple, and make sure that's either one line at the very bottom of your text or the very first line. More powerful at the end, you'll get higher conversion rates if people read it, because not only have they consumed the content on the video, but they've consumed the content in the caption, which makes them more nurtured and more likely to opt in to your lead magnet or into a sales conversation with you. Now, the big mistakes that people make when they're planning content is they do too much research. They look at hundreds of videos and don't make anything. The other thing that they really do wrong in research is you look at a competitor or someone you look up to for content and you try and mimic them exactly. And what a lot of people don't understand is just because they post something, they might have a following, they might have been posting for years, and they can get away and do things that you just won't be able to get away with because they have a following that will put up with it because they've earned their trust. When you're initially posting on social media, you have to provide enough value that you get the watch time in order to get the views, and consistently do that over time to nurture those views and to an audience. So just because something works for another creator doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for you. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is don't try and copy celebrities. People like The Rock and Oprah, they post content, it goes viral because they are The Rock and Oprah. If you're just little old Soren posting content on your account and you're mimicking what they're doing, it's not going to work for you. The other thing you need to make sure you're doing is when you're looking for content that's performed well on other accounts, you don't want to find one-off instances. You want to find, for example, the POV trend where you've seen multiple posts in the same format perform well again and again and again. This doesn't mean that your post is going to pop off, but it increases the odds. When you're planning content, again, you're just looking to check enough of the boxes and post content consistently enough that you will have those videos that pop off. The other mistake, and I'd say this is the biggest mistake that you could possibly make when you're making any type of content, whether it's a YouTube video, podcast, or a short form video, or even an Instagram story, is not having a good hook. If you can have a good hook that draws people in and promises a future payoff, you're going to do well. Any movie that you've ever watched, I'm a nerd here, so I'm gonna use the example of Dune. In the first 15 minutes of this movie, the main character's dad dies. It sets up the rest of the movie of this confrontation that's going to happen between the main character and his family and the other family and the king of the universe, right? If there wasn't that, there's no reason to really watch the movie. So make sure you have a hook that promises a future payoff. In this video, I gave you my hook, or to use that as an example, I talked about how you'll be able to create content consistently using a system. There's a future promise that's where you're gonna get out of this video, which is why you're watching it. The most important thing to keep in mind when you're planning content is that each piece of content, when you post a short form piece of content, the lifespan of that is between 1 and 4 hours. If it's a tweet, it's 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, whether it's a tweet or a thread. If you're posting a YouTube video, you get 1 to 7 days out of it. Podcasts, it's kind of up in the air. Their algorithms are a little bit different. So you don't necessarily have that trending aspect nearly as much as you do with other pieces of content. But when you're keeping that in mind, if it only takes 3 hours for that piece of content to get 90% of the views, you shouldn't be spending more than 3 hours on that piece of content. And realistically, when you're starting out, this is a game of volume and reps. You need to create content consistently. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm planning content, I have a timer on my desk here and I set it for 15 to 30 minutes depending on how much content I'm trying to plan and how high of quality I want the content to be. If I'm doing more YouTube style videos where I want more description, I'm trying to make it closer to 30 minutes in length, I'm planning out my bullet points, I'm gonna give myself more time to plan that content. If I'm creating short form content that's 60 seconds, I might even set my timer for 5 minutes, work for 5 minutes on the hook to up to 10 minutes because the hook is the most important thing, maybe the visual hook or a written hook as well that I'm gonna put into the content. And then I'm gonna focus the rest of the time on the rest of the video. But again, I'm gonna keep myself to that 15-20 minute mark per short form piece of content because again, the reward, it is a very diminishing return over time. If you spend 3 hours on a piece of content between planning, editing, filming, posting, you're just not getting a high enough return unless you're going viral with each piece of content. But in the beginning, you might spend that much time on your content and not go viral. So again, we want to get multiple reps in and make sure you're posting every single day. So limit yourself on the amount of time you're spending on planning content. That's the number one thing you can do, and make sure you're getting that out every single day. If you got any value from this video whatsoever, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference on me helping reach more entrepreneurs just like you and helping you scale your business. If you have any questions or want more help in implementing a proven framework on creating content that will not only drive views, but also sales in your business, go ahead and feel free to book in that free gap assessment call, and we'll take a look at your content and what you're missing and see if we'd be the right fit to help you scale your content and your business up further. Thank you as always, and have a great day.